Riders, Coach Mark here, and welcome to the next workout in our Power Watts introduction series. In this workout, we're going to be reviewing the games that you learned in our previous introduction workout, including the target game, the time and zone game, and the hidden game. And in addition to those three games, you're going to be learning two more games, one of them called the aggressive rider game, and the other one called the sprint game. To briefly review from the previous introduction workout, in the target game, your goal is to focus on your average power and average cadence, and to get your average power and average cadence as close to the target as possible. This forces you to really focus on being precise with your power output and quick with your gear shifting, and by exaggerating the focus on your averages, you'll learn how to more quickly and smoothly adjust your gears based on the targets. The second game is the time and zone game. The goal of that game is to maximize the time that you spend in the green. Sometimes the window is wide and sometimes the window is narrow. So when the window becomes a little bit more narrow, that time and zone game is not as easy as it sounds. In addition to trying to maximize the time you spend in the green, you're also going to want to try to get your average power as close to the target as you can. That way you stay as much as possible in the middle of that green zone, and that will get you the best results. We're also going to play the hidden game, which is just like the time and zone game, but your gauge is hidden. So you have to do it exclusively by feel. So you have to internalize the feeling of effort or the feeling of pressure underneath the feet or the feeling of cadence and let your body take over, because you don't have any visual stimuli in the gauge to tell you if you're on target or not. After we play those games, I'm going to introduce you guys to the aggressive rider game, where the goal is to get to the highest percent watts you can for a short duration effort, 20 to 40 seconds typically. And then we're going to finish this workout with a sprint game, where your goal is to get the highest power output you can for a very short segment of time, roughly 5 to 10 seconds in duration. I'll go over the aggressive rider and the sprints a little bit more when we get to them. We're almost done our first little warm-up period here, and we have a little bit of recovery. So the first 3 minutes was just to get the legs spinning a bit, and now we're going to jump right into a target segment. The target segment in this case has a power target of 70% and a cadence target of 90 RPM. To help you guys, we've added a 30-second lead-up period, during which you have a power target of 70% and an RPM target of 90 RPM as well. During the lead-up period, don't focus too much on your averages. Just get your current watts and your current RPM as close to the target as you can. And then when the target segment begins, bring your attention to the averages. Just a quick reminder, you might not have the gear that gets you to exactly the power and exactly the cadence that you need. In that case, stay at exactly the power target and jump back and forth between maybe two different gears so that you can average out 90 RPM. Let's go to 70% now and 90 RPM. You have 30 seconds to settle in. First thing, get your power on target to 70%. Now take a look at your cadence gauge. Play with your gears until your current RPM gets as close to 90 as you can. In just a few seconds, we're going to start our target game. And now you'll bring your attention to the averages. So we are in the target game. First thing, get your average power to exactly 70%. Now take a look at your average cadence. Try to get that to exactly 90 RPM. So if you're at under 90 RPM now, go a gear easier. And if you're at over 90 RPM, go a gear harder. And continue to play around with the gears to get that average cadence exactly to 90. Oh, but don't forget, your average power needs to be 70% as well. This is a real challenge of focus and a real challenge of gearing skills. We don't have a lot of time left, so make final micro adjustments to your power and cadence. Bring it up or down a bit as need be, and we'll find out what your target score is in just a moment. So let's keep it up And we are done with the target segment. Wow, great concentration, great effort, guys. Take a look in the summary card. You can see your target score appears there. The goal is to get that to over 99% accurate by practicing your gearing and practicing getting your power rate on target. Next up is a time and zone game. We're going to start with a lead-up period to settle into the power target. So let's start to build to 80% now. We're going to do our lead-up period at 80%. It's plus or minus 40 watts on the window. And then for the time and zone game, the window is going to shrink to plus or minus 25 watts. But your goal is to stay in the green as much as you can. So right now, get your current watts as close to the middle of that bracket as you can, and focus on being as smooth as possible in your pedaling. So let's do it, guys. We are in the time and zone. It's a short one. It's only 30 seconds. Be careful not to overcorrect. If you see a bit of blue or a bit of red, don't accelerate or decelerate. It's just very subtle changes in foot pressure or cadence that you need. Keep it in the green, guys. We're almost done. Then you get a little break. Nice work. Now take a look in your summary card. It'll show you the percent time that you spent in the green, and it'll also show you your offset. The offset is the number of watts that your average was away from the target. The goal is to be 100% in the green and get that offset as close to zero as you can. We're going to do another time and zone game, except this time we're going to do it hidden. So let's get ready to go to 90% watts right now. You have 30 seconds to settle in at 90% watts. Focus on the feeling of effort. Internalize the feeling of pressure underneath your feet, or the feeling of how fast your legs are spinning. And when the gauge disappears, try to keep that the exact same so your watts will stay in the green. We are going to have the gauge hidden in 3, 2, 1, and now you go only by feel. We're going to do this for 30 seconds. From one pedal stroke to the next, you want it to feel as similar as possible. It shouldn't suddenly get hard or suddenly get easy. Be as consistent as you can. We are going to see your results in about 5 seconds. So keep it up, guys. And there you have it. We are done the time and zone with the hidden. Take a look at your summary card. What was your percent? What was your wattage offset? Was it close to 100%? Was it close to zero on the offset? And even if you had a bit of a hard time today, there's lots of hidden segments integrated into the Power Watts program. So you learn to internalize the feeling of these powers, and you don't just become a slave to the numbers on the screen. Next up, we're going to do a quick 20-second surge to prime your body for a 20-second aggressive rider segment. Our surge is going to be 20 seconds at a little bit over 100%, and then we're going to do a 20-second aggressive rider segment at over 125%. So you can see the next target indicator says 20 seconds at over 100%. So let's go over 100% by a little bit so we don't create too much fatigue. So let's accelerate it up, go up over 100%, challenge yourself to stay in the green at all times, but not go too high above that minimum target of 100%. Good job. Consistency here is key to avoid having the watts drop in the blue. Now get a little bit of recovery. Great. So that was 20 seconds with a minimum target of 100%, where typically your goal is to only go over that minimum by a bit. But if you look now, it shows you that the next step is an AGR segment. That stands for aggressive rider, folks. And your goal is to get your percent watts as high as possible above that minimum. So we're going to give it a go now. It's a 20-second aggressive rider segment, and see how much above 125% you can go. We are about to start this in 3, 2, 1, and give quick acceleration, guys. Bring those watts way up. Good job. The watts might start to drop just a little bit now, but make sure you keep it over that 125%. Give it a strong effort. When you see that aggressive rider segment, you know it's going to be a tough 20 seconds. And get a little bit of recovery. Great acceleration. If you guys take a quick look at your summary card, you'll see in red, you'll see your aggressive rider score. And your aggressive rider score is your percent watts. So if you're doing an aggressive rider segment during a live class in a group context, the winner is going to be the person with the highest percent watts. So those riders that really know how to accelerate quickly and sustain the high powers for 20 to 40 seconds duration are the ones that are going to win the aggressive rider segments. If you are doing an aggressive rider segment on your own, your goal is to find the highest percent watts that you can achieve on an aggressive rider segment while still being able to achieve all the other exercises in the workout. Sometimes we're sneaky and we throw an aggressive rider in there right before or right after another challenging effort. You want to make sure that you get to the highest power you can, but without missing out on the drill that follows. So you get to learn a lot about anaerobic pacing during an aggressive rider segment. Last thing, we're going to do a sprint. Every time we do a sprint, we have a lead-up period. So that's what's coming up next. We have a 33-second lead-up period at 70%, and then we're going to do a 7-second sprint. The lead-up period allows you guys to get some momentum before giving that all-out sprint. So bring your watts up to 70% now. During this particular sprint, I don't want you guys to change gears during the 7 seconds. So let's get into a sprint gear now. Look at your cadence and get between 70 and 80 RPM while holding 70% watts. So quickly adjust the gears. And when you're between 70 and 80 RPM, you're going to stick to this gear for the whole 7-second sprint. So let's get ready for it, guys. Stand up and accelerate in 3, 2, 1, and kick it up, guys. Accelerate for the 7-second sprint. Keep the legs spinning. Go, 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 go. And there you have it. The 7-second sprint is done. And now take a quick look in your summary card. And the summary card shows your sprint score in green as a watts per kilo. So your goal when you sprint is to get the highest watts per kilo you can. We take your average power for the sprint duration, which is typically 5 seconds, 7 seconds, or 10 seconds, and we divide it by your weight in kilograms. So if you participate in a live class with other riders, the rider that has the highest watts per kilo is the winner. If you're doing a sprint segment on your own, you can keep track of the different sprint segments within the workout, and depending on the context, try to progressively increase the watts per kilo that you achieve on each subsequent sprint. Aggressive rider segments and sprint segments are very technical because you want to be in the right gear and you want to accelerate in just the right way. I'd encourage you guys to follow some of the PowerWatch coached workouts with the recording, where the coach will explain to you guys some strategies to maximize your results on the sprints. Strategies include using different lead-up powers and different lead-up RPMs, and what to do to initiate the sprint or the aggressive rider segment, and what to do to sustain the power in the later stages of the sprint or the aggressive rider segment. So there you have it. You guys know the target, the time and zone, the hidden game, the aggressive rider game, and the sprint game. You're going to see these come up very often within the PowerWatts program, so now you know what to expect. Keep up your PowerWatts training by following along with those coached workouts to learn more about each of these segments and how to get the most out of yourselves. And if you ever join into a live class and you see one of those segments, you get to participate in a friendly competition with all the other riders in the class to see who can perform the best. Thanks so much for joining in, and I look forward to seeing you in another workout soon.